come, oh, I want to register in all European countries. No, you don't have to. You have to have a VAT registration. You need a storage location. It sounds complicated, but when it comes to VAT regulations, it's straightforward. Tax authorities' mindset is very globally, okay?
Yeah.
If you're silent, do your
Yeah.
job, no one's gonna bother you. Most of them, they don't even know they can reclaim it back and then the money is gone. That
Mhm.
would be enough to sell anywhere in the euro. Because it's like in the US, you never want to mess with IRS, right?
Sorry if you're watching out there and you're a tax authority in another
Yeah.
country. Just curious. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about a very important, I think, topic. I don't say this lightly. I think a very important topic that maybe goes under noticed, undervalued, um, maybe appreciated in the e-commerce world of getting your VAT approval and compliance. Something that most sellers might not think about, but something that the real big important winners in the seller community will think about, will want to do, and your company specializes in helping them. So I'm excited to talk to you today about that and get an idea of. I don't really know a lot about this. I am not one of the winners yet. I hope to be by the end of the episode. Um, but excited to chat with you about this and get some more information on this world, this side of
Mhm.
e-commerce. So
You're
thank you.
welcome. Yeah, I'm happy to be here and thanks for having me. Yeah, so it's always like the compliance part is like when sellers plan to expand, or usually they get in touch with Amazon, or Amazon is reaching out to them and say, "Hey, you do great in the US. Why don't you consider expanding into Europe?" And then they're like, "Oh, that's great, but the last step is always, oh, I need compliance, right?" Yeah. So it's
Right.
no one knows so much, but at the end of the day, they need it because otherwise they can't
Mhm.
expand to any European country unless they're gonna, start selling from the US to another reseller there and do business B2B from their home country. Yeah,
Right.
that's the
Okay.
last step and the important step. And usually there is so much wrong information out there because everyone talks something and no one, or they ask ChatGPT, which is not always accurate. And yes, and at the end, when we come into play, we can define exactly what they need. And usually, after they had a consultation or they got in touch with Amazon, Amazon told them, hey, you can expand here and there. Of course, they have their thoughts of, that's a lot to expand. I don't know the market. And then we can help them to analyze where to start exactly, like baby steps,
Mhm.
because some sellers are like, I don't know really, should I go all these countries? And we make sure to
Yeah.
tell them what would be the best step to take first.
That's actually a great intro to my first kind of question. Is I'm a big fan of asking these kind of questions of things that maybe that slip under the radar here in this world. So for a company that might just be starting out, or just starting to sell goods, or just wanting to start selling goods in other countries, would you say that you've dealt with? Maybe you have an example that you'd like to share. What is the most common misconception that these sellers will have about when and where they need to register for VAT compliance?
So, yes, the intention of usually that's a good example. They come, oh, I want to register in all European countries. Like, no, you don't have to. Okay, that's too much because it's better to take baby steps rather than, regretting at the end of the day. Because our approach as VATAi, we always try to figure out what the best for for the seller is. It's not versus selling him everything because that's the easy way. But at the end of the day, they're going to come back and say that's too much. I can't control anything. So what we usually recommend to sellers who don't know exactly, we say, hey, why don't you start from the UK? Because I mean, particular for US sellers, because UK is a mini US market.
Mhm.
Same habits,
Mhm.
same consumer habits, and it's easier to expand since the labeling would be the same language. Very easy because when it comes to European countries, you have not only VAT, you do have EPR, extended producer responsibilities, with battery registration, packaging registration. You have EU authorized representation. So there is so much more on regulations versus UK. UK is really straightforward. You have to have a VAT registration. You need a storage location, which would be Amazon in that
Mhm.
case, FBA, and then they're good to go. That's a very easy way to start. And then you have the second scenario where they say, "Oh, you know what? There is PanEU program." My account manager at Amazon told me that's a great program, and I can participate in two European countries, which would be Germany and France, the biggest ones, and I can sell into nine other PanEU program countries and get a 50% off on my shipping costs. Great. And then we have the second scenario, which would include UK, Germany, and France. And that's a good baby step as well for people who would really like to go to enter the European countries as well.
Mhm. And I know that's only been that way since Brexit, right? I feel
Yes,
like, in the past, when I was working with Amazon, it was just
I
EU,
know,
and it was that
easier.
included.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
easier. So I know that is an interesting complaint maybe from sellers, but, um, kind of getting more into the specifics of the sellers themselves, um, how does a seller know, would you say? Is there a threshold? Is there a physical line that they can cross to say, "Okay, now I know that I am ready to expand." Do you guys help with that? Do you like you said, maybe some of their products aren't good for all the other countries. Do you guys do that, or is that, something that you would see? You look at their product and say, "This is gonna be very hard to get compliant in Germany or in, the EU or the UK or in Asia or anything else like that." How do you guys or I guess not really in Japan, I guess would be the
Mhm.
only way, but, how do you guys look at that? And again, is there a physical line that a seller can look at and say, "Okay, now that I've gotten to this point, I'm ready to go and, um, uh, explore new opportunities in other countries?"
So we don't do like product analyzing or looking into how much the competitors are doing, etc. That's not what we do.
Mhm.
But we can, when we know what the seller is selling, actually, we can tell, okay, this is a high risk product. Okay,
Mhm.
for VAT perspective, there is no high risk product. It's just about the VAT, and then it's about the filing and the sales itself. But when it comes to European Union, there are regulations. For example, you need a EU authorized representation. This is purely on your product safety. So the European Union countries, they want to make sure that their consumers are secure when it comes to buying products, coming into from other countries where the company is also located in America or other countries.
Mhm.
So they need an authorized representation in that country who can represent the safety of the products when it comes to a claim or anything from the buyer's sides. Um, so when the seller is selling, um, I don't know, sorry, cosmetics or supplements, then it's very,
Mhm.
very difficult to find a EU authorized representation because this is something you swallow, you put on your skin. So there is a bit of a risk involved. For example, babies' clothing or toys 0 to 3 years old. Those are high risk products. I know there are companies who help with that. We're in the works to get this done as well. It takes a little bit of a time. We will onboard those sellers as well. But this is one of the important points, and a little bit of a more work involved to find a partner who can represent you in the European countries. Um, and also certification. If you have cosmetic, the
Right.
certification in each country can be different. We don't help with that. So they have to make sure that they have the certification which Amazon is requiring them to have in order to start selling. And it's also depending on the category as well, what Amazon is requiring. So if
Okay.
it's like a cosmetic or it's medical, so they need certain certification to be able to list their products on Amazon.
That makes sense. No, it makes sense. Okay. It's a lot, but
It
it's a lot,
sounds
but
complicated, but when it comes to VAT regulations, it's straightforward. It doesn't matter what product you have. If you want to store and sell in that country, you have to have a VAT registration. That
right.
yeah,
It's gotta be
that's
there. Okay.
very straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's much a little more
Yeah.
straightforward, but all the other, of course, information is important because I imagine this is not um it's not an easy
Yeah.
process for each country. I'm sure that depends on the country, of course, and depends on your product and a lot of other factors. But I imagine there's a lot of different pieces, moving parts that go into getting you
Yeah.
compliant, VAT compliant. So when speaking of that too, are there any documents that, would fit into that category of you need them, they're a little bit more complex, but some things maybe that companies would forget that are uncommon, but crucial documents, I'll call them uncommon but crucial documents that companies might forget, in the term of, if we're giving it to you guys to help get them, VAT registered.
No, documents are usually for each country always the same. Like, yeah, very, very similar. So it's like business license, you need the directors,
Mhm.
legal documents like the passport or ID, you need their address. There's certain
Mhm.
information, and it's always basic in each country. So then what the tax authorities usually require is proof of where do you want to sell. So you have to share your
Mhm.
Amazon store link. You have to
Mhm.
open let's say you want to get registered in the UK or Germany. You have to open your store in the UK and in Germany, which is pretty easy. It's linked to your home country Amazon account. You can't list products, but you can open it so that the tax authorities can see, okay, this is the link of the store they have already activated, and they're going to store with FBA with Amazon, and this is their logistic company. So there's certain informations which are required, and then of course this is tax authorities. There are the list of requirements. We submit that, but it's always case by case that they can come back and say, can you please also provide this document?" We never know because it's the authorities. They can look at it and say, I want to have proof of this and that as well. So we never know what's going to come back. However, our team is specialized in requiring additional optional documents as well to prep the registration process more. Okay, so put more evidence in it, makes it easier for the authorities to accept it.
Okay.
So because when you apply and then they get back to you after 1 month and say, oh, we want this and that as well, it just extends the registration process by 2 to 4 weeks, and we don't want that. So we ask for more additional documents to have a solid application where we don't get any requests afterwards from the tax authorities.
Right. And, for these authorities, once you're in, are you in, or do they do, like, a yearly check-in? Do they do audits of you randomly? How do they operate? Are they sneaky? Are
No.
they straightforward about it? Sorry if you're watching out there and you're a authority in another
Yeah.
country. Just curious,
No,
just
I
curious.
mean,
But do they
yeah, tax authorities are really straightforward. As long as you pay your taxes on time, okay, you don't skip anything. You do your filings on time, which is our responsibility. We have a software working automatically. We have a API connection with Amazon, get the data, the filing is done, payment has to be done on time, and then it's good to go. So as long as you do everything correctly, no one's going to bother you. Okay. Um, but if you miss a payment and you do that couple of times you're going to get notifications, you're going to get letters, you're going to get penalties. So it's I think that's very globally. Tax authorities' mindset is very globally. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're silent, do your
Yeah.
job, no one's going to bother you. However, there's also a good part because usually US sellers um, are considered non EU, of course, companies, and they considered as deemed suppliers with Amazon. So Amazon is paying the VAT. Re- reclaiming the sorry, they pay the VAT on their seller's behalf to the tax authorities.
Mhm.
Okay, they remit it and then they pay it. So at the end of the day, the seller is fighting with us, but we file with zero because it's already paid. Amazon is paying on behalf of them.
Right. Amazon's
So
taking
there's
care of it.
actually nothing to pay for a US seller, okay? So it's good to go. But
That's nice.
sometimes
Yeah.
we do, and it's not sometimes, it's usually all these sellers are importing their goods to that country, right? And they have
Mhm.
to pay import VAT upfront. For example, in Germany, they have to, if they import into Germany, warehouse Amazon, they have to pay import VAT 19%, and they can reclaim that back from their VAT returns. So since they have no payable VAT, they're gonna get a refund, of course. In those cases, we help them as well. We can get in touch with the authorities. They can reclaim it through their VAT returns, and then they can get it paid back to their actual bank account. That's a good thing too, because there's usually a lot of money they pay to the customs authorities, okay? And then most of them, they don't even know they can reclaim it back, and then the money is gone. So that's also a good thing to consider if they're the importer of record, of course. Some of the sellers are working with freight forwarders, they do the importation for them, and they don't have to pay actually the import VAT. So it depends on the country
Mhm.
where they're importing. In the UK, there is a reverse charge mechanism where they don't physically pay the import VAT. It's just the reverse charge mechanism. In France, it's the same. So cash
Okay.
flow wise, Germany is not so good to import, but UK and France is better.
Okay. Noted. So usually you wanna go through Germany. Even if you're selling in France, you wanna just go in through Germany and then ship it from Germany to France is really I feel like I've heard that before as well, so that makes
Yes.
sense. Kind of that's ringing a
Yep.
bell somewhere, up there, so okay. And you would say input VATs are better than output? Is it apples to oranges? Is that even applicable for Amazon businesses to consider output VATs, or is it really just input's the way to go?
Import VAT is upon when the goods are arriving to Germany or France. It always
Mhm.
depends on the seller and the freight forward costs. Okay. I have sellers, they're importing through Netherlands, okay, because there is a reverse charge mechanism as well. And the cost of storing the goods are lower than in Germany. So it's always depending on the operation of the seller itself.
Okay.
So if they have more sales or they know they would have more sales in France, it's better to import it to France because of the reverse charge mechanism, and they don't have to pay upfront import VAT upon arriving of the goods into that country. Okay, so that's why
Okay.
as I mentioned also before, Peter, it's when we do the consultation, we dive deep into case by case because each seller is unique. Their operation is unique, where they buy the goods is unique. So we dive deep
Mhm.
into it and get an understanding on how they plan on shipping the goods into Europe. And then we tell them exactly how it's going to be in Germany, how it's going to be in France. And they tell us how they plan it. And then we find the best way to decide on the countries or where they would like to import the goods.
Okay. No, it makes sense, it's clicking, so
Yeah.
it is very helpful. I feel like I'm getting closer to being, again, a winner that thinks about this
Yeah.
stuff. What's happening and what should sellers be keeping an eye out for in the next couple of months or even next year or the next couple of years?
So of course, there's not much changing. The processes are still very much the same. But what I know, the European Union is working on another um, system, but it's going to take time. They call it the VIDA, V and VIDA. Um, it's going to simplify and give the seller the opportunity to have one European VAT number, could be anyone in Europe, and that
Hmm.
would be enough to sell anywhere in the Europe. Okay, so that's a
Okay.
very big plan. Okay, they were always postponing it each year. They were planning it to 2000, and then they said they postponed it because it's a huge operation. What they did
Right.
before, they implemented OSS, which is kind of the first step to VIDA. So OSS is a one-stop shop. It enables you to sell in all the 27 European Union countries with one VAT, which let's say it's Germany. And then you have
Hmm.
your storage in Germany. And then you have your OSS registration, which is linked to your German VAT. And then you can sell cross border from your German warehouse to any European country. And you can um, calculate the destination VAT rate on it, not the German one. So let's say you sell from Germany to Italy, so you calculate the Italian VAT rate on top, or you sell to Poland, and you
Hmm.
calculate the invoice to the customer with 23%. That's very nice. It's it's
Yeah.
very beneficial for the end customer, and the most beneficial point of this is you file quarterly for your OSS, and then you pay your payable VAT to the German tax authorities for all the transaction you've made in all the European countries. And the German tax authorities make sure to pay the VAT to all these country authorities. One stop shop.
That makes it
Very easy.
right, makes it really easy. We like one-stop shops here. That is how we like to operate as well, so
Yeah.
that's great. No, that sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
that's
So
very nice, and
okay.
but when you're an
Yeah.
Amazon seller, you don't need that. You don't require to do that because Amazon already do it for you. FBA,
Right.
Paneu program, they do that. However, if you're a Shopify seller and you sell on Amazon and you have an independent storage unit as well, or you work with a 3PL solution and you sell on Shopify, you need OSS. Otherwise, you have to
Right.
charge the end customer with the German VAT rate. So there
Right.
are a lot of scenarios we can offer clients, but it always depends on their story, so we can tell them exactly what to do.
Damn it, I feel like a winner. I do. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm getting closer to being a success, a winner here. But one last question I have for you is a sort of a proactive one instead of a
Mhm.
reactive one. So in if you had one piece of advice, what would be the most important piece that you can give to a company to move beyond, like I said, the reactive VAT filing, and really implement a proactive VAT risk management strategy? What's one thing that you can share with our viewers, our audience, to say this is how you can really get ahead of this, have no problems doing it, and make sure that you never get audited. The tax service people aren't going to come for you, and you're doing it the right way, and you're getting it done, and you're doing it
Yeah.
successfully.
So,
It's a broad
yes,
question,
yeah,
but
and it's a very important question. So, yes, first of all, I had many sellers or many consultation calls. I can speak English. Maybe I can do it on my own. Yes, you can do everything on your own somehow and get the costs reduced. But what is going to happen when there is something coming up? And you never know that because it's like in the US, you never want to mess with IRS, right? You want to do your tax returns,
right,
you want to be, and then even if you do your tax return, what I do, like HR block, I buy the peace of mind, right? So they don't bother me. They just go to HR block and deal with them if there is an audit or something. So we all have an anxiety and we wanted to do the right thing when it comes to taxes. So
Mhm.
the let's say the cost is like 400 euros for UK, okay, registration a year. Is it worth it? No, it's not, right? So just leave it up to the professionals. And the best thing is you have a platform, a software where you can see all your filings, your reports, what was done 1 year ago, what was done. And when there is an audit, let's say there is an audit and they say, oh, your filings are wrong from the beginning. We're there
Mhm.
to justify that. We're there to help you. So you're not going to deal with it alone. And then we have the second profile of client who's like, oh, I found Jack in the UK. He's a great accountant. Yeah, he has an office and he has really good prices and he's going to help me with the filings. Yes, Jack is fine. He's doing a great job. And
Right.
but when you think of the perspective, how can I control Jack or how can I audit Jack? So you want to
Mhm.
be transparent, you want to have the overview, and it's recommended to work with a company where you have a software where you have control over everything what has been done so far. And this is very, very important because at the end of the day, Jack in the UK can tell, oh, your filings are done. And then all of a sudden you get a letter and they say, oh, you have missing filings. And then you call Jack and you can't reach Jack. So that's very important. Okay. Those are worst case scenarios, but they happen. I got really a lot of examples of that.
Right. There wouldn't be a story you wouldn't have an example if that didn't happen before. There wouldn't be a story if there wasn't something real
Oh,
to,
yeah, I have
to tie
stories.
it to. So I
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
believe
I
it.
have
Yeah.
really real-time
Yeah.
stories from Germany where, sellers had this, one-man show or two-man show, and then all of a sudden they couldn't reach that person anymore. And
Right. I
and the
mean, you're
problem is, if you can't reach them and you don't have the filings, you can't even change your agent. That's also tricky. So you have to have all your documents in order to prove the next agent or company like us to transfer. And if there is no
right.
proof, there is a problem that they might even do everything in the right way. So it's tricky. So work with legit companies, work with softwares, work with, corporations who have customer support, who you can reach out to, etc. That's very important. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Demet, thank you so much. Again, now I really feel like a winner. Now I really feel strongly about I really have a better understand just scratching the surface, of course, but I have a good understanding of this where I didn't really
Mm.
before. So I really appreciate that. It's one of the goals of every episode is for me to learn something, and I feel like I learned. I can check off that
Thank
box
you.
here. I can file that document that I learned something. So thank you so much. I will make sure to have your
Yeah.
LinkedIn as well as
Mhm.
VATAI's
Yeah.
homepage in the description. Anything else I should include in there?
Yeah.
Any other links that
Yes,
you have that I
I
can throw in
I'll
the
I'm
description?
happy to share a link with you, just for this podcast, and then they can sign up, and we can grant them also 10% if they would like to hop on working with us. And yeah, I'm happy to. And even
Love
if
it.
they, so out there, even if you don't plan in 1 year or whatever, but this idea or this information was so helpful, we're always ready to have a call, answer your questions. There is nothing, you don't have to buy anything, you don't have to, proceed with anything, just to have your questions answered so you can plan later on. No worries. We're
Love it.
happy to help.
Love it. And like you said, make sure you click that link and sign up for the services to receive 10% off. We love a good
Yeah.
discount here. We definitely support that, especially around the holiday
Yeah.
season. We love it. So thank you for that. The audience says thank you as well. Everyone that signs up is going to say thank you. I
Wonderful.
know it.
Thank you.
So I'll say it ahead of time. So, damn it. Thank you so much. Appreciate you having you on. Thank you all out
Bye.
there for watching. I'm your host, Velocity Pete, and we will see you next week.